Hey guys, it's me. I'm just going to give you a real quick review on quadrilaterals. Um, you can use this to help you with some of your practice. This is just going to be a quadrilaterals overview. I'm going to create a video also too that has to do with 16.2, which is quadrilaterals. I'll do a video on the buddy practice and go over the quick check on there. This is going to be our last math lesson for the year, so please make sure you do your very best, as this will be our last grade that I put in the grade book. So one of the things we know is that polygons, there's triangles, quadrilaterals, there's hexagons, there's pentagons, there's decagons. Okay, we're focusing on just quadrilaterals, and we know that quadrilaterals have 4 sides. So, and there's a bunch of different kind of quadrilaterals. We're going to go over the 3 main types of quadrilaterals. The first type of quadrilateral is just a quadrilateral. It can't be anything else. It doesn't have parallel sides. It doesn't have equal sides. Okay, it's kind of an odd duck by itself. It has no other properties than just that it has 4 sides. Okay, and we've talked about that one in class a little bit. Remember, all this quadrilateral talk is going to be reviewed because of the spell review this year. But remember, when we focus on quadrilaterals, we divide it up into 2 types. Okay, the one types are parallelograms. Okay, and the other types are trapezoids. Okay, remember when we talk about a trapezoid, we're talking about that it only has one pair of parallel lines. Okay, whether it's the top or bottom or left and right, it only has one pair. Okay, let me make this a little easier. One pair of parallel lines. Okay, that's a trapezoid. Okay, that's the easy part. Toughest part here is okay, parallelograms. What are they all? Well, first of all, remember you have just a regular parallelogram. Okay, and here you have your top and the bottom are parallel. Okay, and then your left and your right are also parallel. So when you have a parallelogram, you have 2 pair of parallel lines. Okay. Over on the right, you use a trapezoid. You have 1 pair. On the left, you have 2 pair. Okay. Once you determine that your quadrilateral is a parallelogram or is a trapezoid, remember, sometimes it can be just a parallelogram. And in fact, the drawing that I made for parallelograms is just a parallelogram. Okay, but a lot of times when there's a parallelogram, there can be other shapes involved. Okay, and the first one that we always recognize is a square. Okay, and let's do that. And we know a square is a parallelogram for 2 reasons. One, because the top and the bottom are parallel and the left and right are parallel. But a square is different than all the other shapes in that they all have the same length sides and each of them are a right angle. Okay. The next one is going to be a rectangle. Okay. And why did I draw 2 shapes? Well, first of all, okay, we know that this is a parallelogram because the left and right and the top and the bottom are both parallel, right? But we also know that a rectangle is we know that opposite sides are equal. Okay, so opposite sides are equal. We know that that's true. So even though a square has all equal sides, the opposite sides of a square are equal. When that happens, we call that a rectangle. Okay, now I'm going to move this up to kind of create myself some room, but I really recommend you guys to use this when you're doing your quadrilateral stuff. Okay, so just a quick review: parallelograms. Okay, two pair of parallel lines. We have a square. Okay, and we know that squares are unique because all four sides are equal and they have right angles. We know a rectangle. Okay, we also know that a rectangle has opposite sides are congruent. Okay, so on this particular example, the left and right are the same, and the top and the bottom are the same, and the same as this, you know. So we also call. Remember the thing we used to talk about in class is that a square is also called a rectangle. Okay, but a rectangle cannot be a square, and the reason for that is because a rectangle does not have all equal sides. Okay, now a square has all equal sides, and that is a rectangle, so that fits in the square category. Okay, so it's super important. Go back to this, and when you're doing questions, look and see what I did. Okay, I have a rectangle. I have two shapes for rectangles. I have a regular rectangle, and I have a square as a rectangle. Okay. The next one that we're going to talk about is a rhombus. Okay, and what's unique about a rhombus is that it has all equal sides. Now notice I said all equal sides. I did not say right angle. So a square is also a rhombus. So look at that square again. Okay, a rhombus, for example, the shape that I drew, okay, it's not a square because it doesn't have 90-degree angles. The reason why a square is a rhombus is because it has equal sides, so it fits that category of all equal sides. Okay, so review: I have parallelograms, I have to have two pair of parallel lines. I have a square, I have a rectangle, and I have a rhombus. A square has all equal sides. Rectangles have opposite sides. Opposite sides are equal. Okay, and then a rhombus has four equal sides. And so when you see a picture of a square, okay, it's a quadrilateral. Okay, it is also a parallelogram. It's also a square. It's also a rectangle. And it's also a rhombus. So you got to go through these. You got to be able to identify these. This is a special case. The square is kind of a special shape because it fits so many categories. Okay, so when you see a shape of a square is all of them. Okay, it's a square, it's a rectangle, it's a rhombus, it's a parallelogram, it's all of them. That's the only shape that fits all those categories. Okay, so let's start from the beginning again and go back and really talk about it. In class, we used to, on the back board, we used to put up examples of different polygons, and we would say, okay, is it triangle, quadrilateral? Everybody would say a quadrilateral. And then my next thing would be, is it is it one, a parallelogram, or is it two, a trapezoid? Okay, if people choose trapezoid, then you're done. Okay, after you choose trapezoid, there's no other shape it can be. If you choose that it's a parallelogram, okay, then there's options. Okay, if it's a parallelogram, it can be a square, it can be a rectangle, it can be a rhombus. Okay, sometimes it's just going to be a parallelogram because it's not going to fit a square, a rectangle, or a rhombus. So sometimes you're going to have a polygon that's a quadrilateral that's just a parallelogram, most of the time you're going to have a polygon that's a quadrilateral, that's a parallelogram, and then it's going to be something else. Okay, so we talked about the special thing about a square. Okay. Next, let's just give you this example, okay, as a rectangle. So I'm just going to try to abbreviate the first letter. Obviously, rectangle and rhombus, I'll let you know which one. For example, on this one, you're going to have, this is going to be a parallelogram, okay? And after it's a parallelogram, okay, in this case, you're going to have a parallelogram that is a rectangle, okay? It's not a rhombus, okay? It's not a square, okay? It's going to be a parallelogram that is a rectangle. There's nothing else. We have a parallelogram, we have the left and right, and we have the top and bottom. That's what makes it a parallelogram. Okay, opposite sides are equal. Okay, so we know that is true. Okay, we know that the left and the right and the top and the bottom are equal. Okay, and so that's what makes it a rectangle, plus it being there's no other properties. Okay, yes, it does have right angles, but it's a parallelogram. Okay, that is a rectangle, and the reason for that is because it has opposite sides are equal. It does have not 90-degree angles. Now, let's say I took this and I did almost the same shape, but if you notice, I have opposite sides are equal, but I don't have 90-degree angle. So then this would just be a parallelogram. Okay, it can't be a rectangle because it doesn't have 90 degrees. So this shape right here, this will be shape, we'll just say shape 1, shape 2. Shape 2 is going to be a polygon, that's a quadrilateral, that's a parallelogram, and that's it. We're done. Okay. Shape 1 is a polygon, that's a quadrilateral, that's a parallelogram, that is a rectangle. Okay. Give you an example for number 3. Okay. Okay, if you notice, I have all sides that are equal, but I do not have 90-degree angles. So this is going to be a polygon, and this is going to be a parallelogram. That's going to be a rhombus. Okay, so this is a polygon, that's a quadrilateral, that's a parallelogram, that's a rhombus. Okay. Okay. Number 3. Oops, number 4, sorry. Number 4, okay. If you look at number 4, number 4 is a quadrilateral, okay. Has one pair of parallel sides. Now that doesn't look like our common trapezoid, but this is what this is. This is a trapezoid. Okay, and the reason why it's a trapezoid because the left and the right side, okay, are parallel. The top and the bottom are not. Okay, because remember, eventually that's going to cross here. Okay. All right. So it's a trapezoid, doesn't fit any other category. So this number 4 would be a polygon, that's a quadrilateral, that's just a trapezoid. Okay. So we went over square, we went over a rectangle, we went over just a parallelogram, we went over just a rhombus, we went over trapezoid. Okay. Use this page to help you with your work and helping you understand everything that's going on here, okay? The one that really has to be understood is that square. That's why I kind of circled it, I underlined it. Okay, that's kind of a special one because anytime you get a square, it's all of them, okay? A square fits every single one of those categories. And the other one that's also important too is is when you do have a square, that you have to understand that that is also a rhombus. So please make sure you're understanding all of this. Hopefully this page helps you out as you're kind of getting just a summary of there. I'm also going to post some other videos professionally done by people on my homepage. This is going to be my last overview video for the for this year. I want to thank you guys for watching these. I think I've gotten better at making them. Hopefully they've helped you, and that you are able to have at least have a good start before our Zoom meeting on Tuesday, to have an idea of what's going on. When you are Zooming on Tuesday, please make sure you're prepared. Make sure you have a pencil, paper ready to go, so that we can talk about a few of those shapes and just have some conversations. All right, thanks for viewing. And once again, most importantly, be safe, help out at home, be respectful, and always be your best. Cool.